To truly respect your car, you have to understand that under that hood, there is a complex conversation happening hundreds of times every second, and the mass airflow sensor is the most important voice in the room. I like to call it the nose of the car. Just like you use your nose to smell if milk has gone bad or if there is a fire nearby, the car uses the mass airflow sensor, or MAFF, to sniff exactly how much air is entering the engine. Why is this so critical? Because an internal combustion engine is a bit like a picky eater. It demands a very specific recipe to run efficiently. That recipe is called the stoichiometric ratio. For gasoline engines, this magic number is 14.7 parts of air to 1 part of fuel by mass. Notice I said mass, not volume. This is where people get confused. Air is not just empty space. It has weight, but that weight changes constantly. Imagine a balloon filled with air. If you put that balloon in a freezer, it shrinks because the air gets dense. If you put it in a hot oven, it expands. The same thing happens as you drive. The air on a chilly morning is dense and packed with oxygen atoms. The air on a hot afternoon is thin. If your car just guessed how much fuel to spray based on the size of the engine, it would be wrong half the time. It needs to weigh the air to count the oxygen molecules. That is the job of the mass airflow sensor. It sends a signal to the engine control unit, or ECU, saying, hey, we have precisely 5 grams of air coming in per second. The computer then does the math and pulses the fuel injectors for the exact millisecond needed to match that air with the right amount of fuel. When this system works, you get maximum horsepower, the best possible fuel economy, and clean exhaust. But when the mass airflow sensor starts to lie, everything falls apart. If the sensor gets dirty and reports less air than there actually is, the computer sprays less fuel. This is called running lean. A lean engine runs hot. It can cause detonation or knocking, which sounds like marbles rattling in a tin can, and that can destroy your pistons. On the flip side, if the sensor fails and reports too much air, the computer dumps extra fuel. This is called running rich. You will smell gas, you will see black smoke, and you will wash the oil off your cylinder walls, causing massive engine wear. But the damage goes even further. Your catalytic converter, that expensive part in your exhaust that cleans the pollution, relies on that perfect 14.7 to 1 ratio. If you drive with a bad mass airflow sensor for too long, dumping unburnt fuel into the exhaust, that fuel will overheat the catalytic converter and melt the insides. Now you're looking at a $1,000 repair bill, all because of an ignored sensor. And here's a secret that not many people know. Your automatic transmission relies on the mass airflow sensor too. Modern transmissions are smart. They need to know how much load the engine is under to decide how firmly to shift gears. The computer calculates engine load primarily from the airflow reading. If the mass airflow sensor says airflow is low, the transmission computer thinks, oh, we're just cruising, I'll shift gently. But if you're actually flooring it and the sensor is wrong, the transmission will shift too soft, causing the clutches to slip and burn out. I've seen perfectly good transmissions get rebuilt because a mechanic did not realize the shifting problem was actually a mass airflow sensor problem. This sensor is also the first line of defense against limp mode. If the signal disappears entirely, the computer panics. It restricts the engine speed, usually to under 3,000 RPM, to save the engine from blowing up. You'll be crawling down the highway at 40 miles per hour. So when we talk about the importance of this sensor, we're not just talking about gas mileage. We're talking about the longevity of your engine, the health of your transmission, and the life of your catalytic converter. It's the cornerstone of modern engine management. That's why I always tell people, if you need to replace it, do not buy the cheapest $10 knockoff you find online. Those cheap sensors often have terrible calibration. They might work, but they will lie to your computer just enough to ruin your efficiency. Stick to OEM brands like Bosch, Denso, or Hitachi. Your car's brain needs accurate information to make good decisions, and the mass airflow sensor is the only way it gets it.